Donna, Donna. Are you there? Are you there?
I'm here. Good morning.
Hello, Donna. Hello, hello, hello,
Hello,
hello,
hello.
hello, magicalness. How are you? How are you? How are you?
Good, good.
Ah,
How are you?
very good. One moment. I think you're hearing me on the other thing, and I want to not hear you there. Join audio. There
There
we
we
go.
go. I
Like
like
hearing
hearing
you
my
ahead,
head,
but
but
I
now
got
I
to put
gotta put
you
you
off
off
on
on
the
the speaker. Hold on. Come on. I'm hearing
Oh,
myself. Okay. There we go.
that
That
better?
better?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Brilliant.
Brilliant.
I
Oh, I
think
think
I'm
I'm
still
still
hearing
hearing
myself
myself
twice.
twice. Oh,
Oh,
oh, I gotta put the mic off. That's fine. All right. Very cool, Donna. Very cool. Very cool. Very cool. What you been up to? What you been up to? What you been thinking about? Oh, excuse me. Donna?
Yep, nothing. I mean, nothing. Just kind of enjoying
Ah,
life.
yes. 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 Gotta enjoy life. Gotta enjoy life.
Right.
It's our mandate. That's our mandate, right? That's our mandate.
Pardon me. Yes. And you?
Mm. Yes, yes, enjoying life and enjoying the people in life. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Not just life itself, but the people like you, like Beena. I don't know. We're enjoying the Facebook group actually too.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm going through the group. I check for look at the post to see where they're at, what they're saying, are they providing value, and I must have marked, I don't know, probably by now, like 2 dozen posts as announcements just today. So I have to reevaluate my criteria for marking them as announcements. Before I just said, all right, is this providing some value, some usefulness? There weren't that many. Now there's tons of them. So that's cool. So I have to upgrade, which is good. Which is good. That's what you want. It's really cool. But I am kind of sticking with it, even though it's a lot, so that uh, because I think when you go to the group, it kind of shows you the announcements and then the regular posts underneath it. It tends to favor them a little bit. At least it seems that way. So then, well, all those people that do see their posts get marked as announcements, and hopefully those that go to the announcement, they get a tab. They get a tab. They get an idea of what what is being emphasized, what's being looked for, um, what's being rewarded with a post, with an announcement, as it were. That is kind of important to people as well. So this is great. It's cool. It's educating the group as to what we're looking for. Very cool. Very cool. And I see more longer posts, which is cool too. Starting to see more comments on longer posts too. So this is a key thing, in terms of one of the points for the private group is to say, look, firstly, you're here to learn and grow. That's it. You know, there's only one rule: be appropriate. Understand the mandate of the group. It's about learning and growing. Be appropriate and share, don't tell. That's it. Share, don't tell. Thirdly, read the longer posts. Invest some time in this. If you're always looking for those one-liner quick fix memes things, you're going to just be looping around and around and around. Not only read the longer posts or any post, but comment on them, share, do a repeat back, give your takeaway. That's how you learn, not just by reading and thinking you know. So, I'll make that a part of the group description to put in that process. Otherwise, I see people don't really get much out of it. Just keep looping and looping and looping. You kind of have to stop, go inside, think about it, make it your own, absorb it, take it in, right? Yeah. I don't know if you saw that post, the one with the Star Wars post,
What
living
you
with the
made?
Force.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I like that post. I want to. I don't want to. I will. I'll add it to the attunement, alignment, and anomalies post as extra material, or even make a bonus session out of it, because that's what it's about, And it's just they're coming at it at a different angle. So, and the attunement, alignment, and anomaly session is the one most participants connect to the least, because it's kind of shifts the world so much. It's a whole different way of looking at everything. So a little hard to relate to initially. Yeah. Yeah. What do you think?
Yeah, I can see that.
Very cool. Very cool. So yeah. So yeah, I like it. It's a cool story. Cool story. Uh, Very cool story. It's fun. I don't know, unless some don't enjoy it because it's got that whole master hierarchy thing. So, which is the only downside to it. And in the comments there, that's one of the points I wanted to make in the story a little bit. I didn't in that one. There's more stories to come, but I don't care much for that logic. Uh, I was given a hard time um, because somebody said, yeah, but what about the new nobles and the aspirants? Isn't that the same thing, the same relationship? I said, no, no, not at all, because all the new nobles regard themselves as perpetual aspirants. So it's a technical thing, the new nobility. It's not a hierarchical statement. And if you look at the relationship between Biella, yes, they all love and admire Biella, but she loves and admires them all too. And even though some of them are aspirants and they knew and all that, uh, they all have their own magic and moreness. Yeah? It's not like that. The new nobles, they understand absolutely implicitly that everybody learns from everybody all the time. So you share what you have, you share where you're at. That's it. There's no grade, there's no ranking. You just share where you're at. And they perpetually repeat everything. They're always sharing where they're at for purposes of learning and growing and understanding, not for purposes of teaching, for purposes of learning and growing and understanding. That's it. That's what you share for. That's why you listen, not to acquire information or to give information. No. Yeah, Donna? Does that make sense? Very cool. Very cool. Very cool. Very cool. Anyway, I was reading that earlier. So I was actually having fun reading it. It's kind of cool. It's getting into the voices a little bit more. I haven't in the past done voices all that well. It's difficult. It's tricky to do voices. So I did them a little bit more, just to have slightly different voice for the apprentice, the master, the narrator. There were a couple of characters there too, the crowd and the old woman and the kid. So I've done quite a few. I had to do quite a few. Anyway, fun.
That's what you've been doing this morning?
Yeah, well, and then I was just Beena has to go to her auntie for the. It's not quite a ceremony. She didn't know what to call it. She said it's interesting. It's after 40 days, um, and this only applies to, let's see, doesn't apply to everybody. I think she said only applies to widows, but would have thought that would apply to the husband of the widow. Anyway, but it's something that they borrowed from Hinduism somehow, or Hindu culture. It's not a religious thing; it's a cultural thing. So, anyway, so it's basically it's kind of signing off on auntie. Okay, move on now. The auntie who died. And now it's time to move on with their life. Typically, this is after 3 days they do this, but somehow for widows, it's 40 days.
Maybe widows, it
Why?
takes longer to get ready or something.
I guess. I don't know. It's just very strange. Why the difference? I was asked Beena why the difference. She had to go. We'll ask her when she comes on. She said she'll come once. Isn't that interesting? That it's a difference. Things that come from tradition, I, I treat them very, very gingerly and with lots of discernment because they can be very peculiar for no good reason. I see that a lot of times, and we tend to assume because it's traditional, it has some sensibility to it. We don't even question the sensibility, and that's really no good, right? Got a question. Got a question. All right.
When when did Nobilia come into your being?
2011. Mm. Yeah, yeah, it's fairly recent. Yeah. Uh, well, that's when I first wrote about it, and it was very specific when I wrote the first Biala story. Yeah, it's not something that I've had lifelong connectivity to, but the conception of nobility was before that. How much more I can't say. It would be a couple years actually now that I think of it. Uh, and it's interesting how it came about. So, I do the internal repurposing of tension, feeling in different ways, exploring ways of being through feeling, and literally through rearranging face and body and stance and posture, rearranging the body as it were. And it's also, dealing with body habits, mindset habits, ways of being habits. So, one of them is to feel determined, right?
Right.
And to feel deliberate, both together. Because to be deliberate is, I don't know, actually it's more to feel deliberate and determined. Because when you feel deliberate, you have a determination, you have a focus, you have a purpose, you have an empoweredness to it. So to feel deliberate, there's a power to it. You connecting to yourself. You connecting to your sensibility, your confidence, your courage, every single thing really. I feel sort of like, well, you could say another way is to feel impeccable. So in exploring this, I don't know. I was watching something on TV or a story or whatever, and there was something to do with nobility and the prince. And I said, oh, I don't know. It's one of those things that grabbed my mind obliquely in the opposite logic way. So I said, what would it like to feel, be like to feel like a prince? Just part of my experimentation. You feel things that are other to you or that you feel are like a little bit out there. Um, but then, of course, it is to feel like a real prince. What would a true prince feel like? And then it went into feeling noble, and I really, really went into that, and it was kind of cool, that feeling. Um, Particularly, I thought it through. Obviously, I said, well, to really feel this, you obviously have to have no status, no ego, none of that stuff to truly, truly feel this. And then that was the birth of the idea to say, wow, there's a moreness in nobility. Um, and then I was, just had nobility as an ideal, as a superlative to say. I was familiar with the word, obviously, but not as a true concept. So, and then of course there had to be this distinction between traditional hereditary nobility and real nobility to be noble. So automatically the concept of capital N nobility was there. And even that, that could still refer to traditional nobility. So there had to be a distinction. So it was, the I didn't use the term much until I started writing, and then right from the very beginning, the focus was to differentiate and new nobility, and then it's just the things come together. The idea was to write a story to exemplify way of impeccability, and the application. Really, not at that time, wave impeccability didn't have the name either, actually. to exemplify my personal philosophy, the A plus philosophy of appropriateness. I don't know how much it had that names, but certainly, uh, yeah, I don't know if it's hard to say when the naming of stuff comes because we did update and change the names, but just that the system of being that I live by, my personal philosophy, as it were. That was the idea of the story, to put it into action. That's why I like science fiction, because science fiction is applied philosophy put into action. You can't write about a new world and in any way without having some underlying philosophy as to how it's going to work. Same thing when they make the games. Um, when you write a contemporary book, you can basically just have all that stuff be assumed. But if you're writing, well, fantasy too, any alternate world, you have to kind of stipulate what is the underlying paradigm here, um, and whether it be economic or political, legal, doesn't matter. It's still philosophical to some degree. So it's pretty cool. So anyway, so that was the point of the story. I wanted to show people who exemplified what I aspired to, and made every effort to, and still do make every effort to practice. So this is cool. That I thought was very cool. And then it's just a matter of fleshing it out. And because I had this idea of them applying it, and the concept of noble as a named concept was in my mind, I then built the society around that concept, which I see as somewhat of an unusual concept to live around rather than impeccability, because nobility is bonus. You kind of have to be impeccable, but you don't have to be noble. It's not required. It's additional. So it made for that. I like stories, and my writings are full of it with that extra degree of difficulty. Like that. How do I know thee? Uh, that came from. I said, Livia said, "Oh, you don't know me." I said, I do. I really feel I do. And because I said it so earnestly, it stopped her. She kind of turned her head and gave me sort of a cockhead, quizzical look. She saw I really meant that. And then she says, "Oh, how do you know me?" So that then I said, "Well, okay, this is how." And I went and really thought about it and I wrote it down, and all the stuff came. But it didn't all necessarily come uh, with the alliteration. Some of it does because I liked it, but then just for me, I like that extra degree of difficulty. So okay, make it all alliterative. So in the same thing with the new nobility, it's as a personal paradigm, as a personal practical of philosophy. To have a philosophy of nobleness, it's just extra degree of difficulty. It just appeals to me. It's just who I am. Nobility is just mm, it's just integral to me. I can't really separate from it. So okay, there you go. And the other degree of difficulty was to have a society that is built on nobility, and yet nobility is the one thing that it's really difficult to acknowledge and to share and express. To say I am noble, for some, like my friend Mark Cornelius, for him it's a flat out contradiction in terms. The moment you say you're noble, you aren't noble according to him. It's like saying I am innocent. To him, you can't say you're innocent. I disagree with that logic because uh, one of the things that makes way of impeccability so potent is the ability to understand that there can be coexistent contradictions, right? We have them all the time: believing without believing, trusting without trusting. So sophisticated innocence, innocent sophistication, aware nobleness, they can coexist. They can. It takes sophistication. And that's the other thing with it, that I wanted to delineate. This was very interesting. Now that sorry, it's not quite what you asked, but it's bringing it all up. Um, I wanted to show a sophisticated society, right? And sophisticated individuals. But particularly, I wanted to show moreness of being from the inside of the one exhibiting it. Their motivations, their logics, their understandings, their thinkings. For instance, you read a story with someone like, Carlos and Don Juan. You're seeing everything from Don Juan's knucklehead, idiot, nincompoop perspective, right? And yes, you see what Don Juan is saying, and it's all wonderful and that. But I want to, everybody wants to be Carlos in that book. They want to be the apprentice, and I want to have a master, I want to have a teacher, blah blah. No, I aspire to be the one who's that, not to necessarily be a teacher or a master, but I aspire to be the person doing that, who has those skills, knowledge, awarenesses, and sophistications. So it doesn't help me to learn from Carlos's point of view. I need to learn it from their point of view. I need to hear what they're thinking, how they're thinking, what they're doing inside, what's their philosophy, what's their beliefs personally. Not, yes, of course, he's sharing that a lot, but I want to be inside their head. So this was very important to me. This was the point, to show this. And look at Biala's mandate, right? Her mandate with the delegates is to show them what the new nobility are. She has to demonstrate. So not only does she do this externally to the delegates, but also internally we get to see her showing this. So she's thinking about what she's doing. And that I wanted to demonstrate.
Alright.
I wanted to
When
demonstrate
you
that
created
deep level
Way
of
of
sophistication.
Impeccability, was your intent to have it be a living course?
Yeah,
Yeah.
always, 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 always. That is goes without saying in a sense. This is to have a closed system is just folly. It's arrogance. It's idiocy. Oh yeah. Oh, absolutely. And it's constantly updating. That's the joy for me. I update all the time. I don't always update the material that much, a little bit, because when it's working, leave it alone, right? So, but there certainly are little updates, and that's why the Mourners Project, is the space for those. Look at hearing and helping. Hearing and helping is, yes, it's the underlying of what's going on, and the bulk of it was there before Way of Impeccability, and made the sessions possible, right? And makes for the program to work. But there's much nuance in there that has come about. At least my ability to express it has resulted from the constant practice in doing Way of Impeccability. That's very cool. Very cool.
Are you going to add to your Nobilia story with new characters from the program?
Oh, absolutely. Oh, absolutely. Oh, yeah. Undoubtedly. Oh, yeah. Oh, there's much to be written in the Alice series, though. I'm looking forward to getting back to it. I really enjoy writing those stories. Clara's class, likewise. Oh, I just love those. That's really where I relate the most, actually. To do the Biala story series, that's hard. I have to kind of work at that. The Clara's class ones, they just flow. They come naturally.
I bet that's fun when they flow like that.
Yeah, and also you'll see when we get involved in it. You're going to see how you just fit into the class as a character so easily, so smoothly. So you're just going to resonate with that and be a part of that class. You'll see what I mean. It's amazing. It's really amazing. I don't know. It's very sophisticated, those kids, yes, but it's kind of where we at. We have that sophistication and that childlikeness at the same time. So yeah, it's very cool. I'm looking forward to that and to writing it too. So
It was interesting. I don't know if I shared with you, but on New Year's, Barbara Adams, Dragonfly Cafe in Pennsylvania, the woman that owned that, she got a hold of me. I haven't heard from her in months. I've been thinking a lot
cool.
about the city and, just like you do with Nobilia and what it would be like to actually start to build what do you call that? Brick and mortar? And where would I, yeah. And where would I start? And, with Paige coming home, and she made a comment about, wouldn't it be cool if we had a breakfast place? Cause she's a pretty good cook when it comes to breakfast. And, we were just playing along and laughing, and what would we call it? And then I was talking to somebody about working for Robert L. Stark. And Mr. Stark is the visionary behind a community out here that's sort of like a Nobilia, although it's it's built on a class system. But if you take away that element to it, as far as the process was concerned, when I worked for him, I was able to hear from him articulate his vision of what he wanted the community to look like. And his premise was, it's all about the experience. And that resonates with me. It is all about the experience with me.
Exactly.
That's,
wow.
That's why I would enjoy financial freedom. That's why I would enjoy the wealth, to create that experience, to create a way of being that incorporates that. And, the truth of the matter is, you need financial means to do that. So anyway, a lot of, even going back like you did in what you were talking about, what that reminded me of is just having basic kind of dreams, visions, and you have them, and there's more layers to them, and there's more depth to them. But as you evolve, the depth of them is revealed. So, like I was saying, Dragonfly Cafe is so much more than a restaurant. But in the beginning, it was, it was a restaurant in the city. And, and it's just amazing how it expands and it grows, and the different layers come to be, and it has kind of a life of its own. And so I was thinking to myself, well, I think I would start. I really feel like the calling and the conversations, because I asked that question, well, where would I begin? Would be the restaurant. And I, Paige came, when was she? Oh, Thanksgiving. So that was back in November. We had that conversation. And then I've been kind of thinking about it on and off. And I've been thinking about when I worked for Robert Stark, I was going through the divorce, and I had to ask off a lot for court. And I would have fights at work with Brian on the phone, and I would be all crying, and I was just a mess when I worked for him. I really emotionally was in the midst of blah.
Oh, man.
And I think to myself, what would happen if I worked for a visionary like that now, in this state of being, right?
Yes.
So,
oh, he'd be so lucky. He'd be so lucky.
But I everything happens for a reason. I know that. And
good,
just to be,
for a good reason.
For a good reason. And I know that I worked for him when I did for a good reason. And it did help me kind of shift out of that. But there's a part of me that's like, if you could see who I really am versus what I was back then, it's just, it would be such a remarkable difference. You would be like, are you this? Is that, are you sure that's her name? Right. Right. Exactly. Say what? So just for
go look him up.
Well, no, well, I did. I just for the fun of it. And 6 days ago, they posted my old position. So I'm like,
Wow. Did you apply for it?
No, I didn't. I'm just, that is something I'm thinking about. The challenge to that is the income is incredibly low. It would be very, very challenging to live, let alone, I'd have to change everything. I'd have to move, and that step in that direction is not not where I
No,
want to go. I
no,
want to
no, no.
improve
And it's
my
not
quality of
needed
living.
either. It's not needed either. Exactly. We have to boost our quality of living. This
Right.
is my goal. You know, yeah, I love doing the sessions, but I want to be in a position where I don't have to do them for finance.
Right. Right. I hear you.
Yeah.
So
So did you connect with him personally? Did you chat to him?
no, no, he's even when I worked with him, he's not the type of person that would be an easy accessible. Not to say I wouldn't do it if I had a calling or it felt like the right thing to do. And I can feel those. And I know that when I get those, I need to take action. I just haven't been called to do it yet. And maybe it'll happen, maybe it won't. But it
Oh,
would
it will.
be
Oh, it will.
I will have to work at getting an audience with him, I'm sure. I don't
Yeah,
think
yeah, yeah,
he's not a
yeah,
person that you can just pick up the phone and
yeah,
say, "Hey, let's talk."
yeah,
Even when I worked with him, I couldn't get to him very easily.
yeah, yeah. I find it amusing his name,
Right?
Stark.
Right?
Stark, like in Avengers, right?
Right?
That's Tony Stark, right? I don't remember what his name is, the guy in the Avengers, but anyway, I think it's Tony Stark. And yeah, that's really interesting. Yeah, no, I definitely feel when the time is right, you know, when we have had sufficient time to implement and integrate way of impeccability, time to practice it, then then it will happen. And particularly practice. You know, I was practicing that with reading the story to practice changing not only our face posture and stance, but also, well, of course, our walk is part of that, just extension, but also our voice. This is very important. Voice is very critical in self-perception. Very, very, very critical. So, you know, this part of hearing, to hear yourself, hear your own voice. Big deal, big deal. So that's why, you know, the client is you. And we listening to the voices of others all the time, which gives us practice to develop the ability to truly, truly, truly listen and hear ourselves. That's quite a something. It's quite a something. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All
Yes.
right. So, all right. I got a fun. We got a fun thing we're gonna do today. So, all right. Yeah. Are you gonna pull it up there? Slides.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm eating. Made some seafood pasta. Pasta with salmon in it. Delicious. I had like 3 helpings yesterday. I had some for breakfast this morning. It's like, I don't know, 12 o'clock in the morning. So maybe some again.
Are you gonna read or would you like me to read?
I want you to read, but in a different voice.
In a different voice?
Yeah. You pick whatever voice, maybe Biala's voice, Ursula's voice, whoever in that category. You know, read in your mourner's voice. Read in a voice that has no filters, no restraint. To say, I'm being fully my me mourners. Read in your potency voice. Like I had to put that voice on when I was reading the Jedi story, and I was, you know, the voice of the Jedi, even though the character is actually a female. But all right, I didn't read it as a female voice. I don't have that skill yet.
Okay. I'm on 46.
Okay,
We
very
can,
cool. Hang on, screen share. Yeah, yeah.
did
Put
I
your
not
full
screen
screen.
share?
Oh no, I want you to screen share. Yeah, so I can see what you're doing.
I thought I did. No?
Not yet.
I not?
Nope.
Uh-huh.
There we go. There we go. All right. Oh, so practice too. You know, read the quotes in a different style. You mess about and practice as much as you like. Experiment until you where you feel you want to be with this voice. unrestrained, unrestrained Donna. That's really the way that I feel the voice is. Yeah.
Okay.
No, noble Donna.
You ready?
Mm-hmm.
We can never, ever forget how possible it is for us to be totally wrong. We have to stay humble.
We
That
can
one hit
never
home.
ever forget how possible it is for us to be totally wrong. We have to stay humble. Yes, I like that. That's a good quote. That's a good quote. Yeah.
And then when you can identify there really is no right and wrong, then you reach the next layer.
Exactly. Exactly. Exactly.
We all possess the skill of connecting to implications. It's what kept us alive in the jungle. In the jungle. I forgot
Yeah,
these.
literally. You
I
hear
know.
that rustle in the bush and all that stuff. Yeah.
I read these a
I
couple
said,
days.
but I didn't come from the jungle. I came from the savannah. Okay. Well, you came from the ocean or the skies, probably, right?
No answers. Just questions. However, However, many have lost the habit of connecting consciously to implications. Those implications lurking outside the awareness bubble are usually what problems are all about. Hear those implications and you will hear another. Again, be scrupulously careful to not tell the other what those implications are. You simply hearing You simply hearing is almost enough. Is that sentence right? You simply hearing.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
yeah,
I
yeah.
didn't read it right. You simply hearing is almost enough to reflect those implications back to the individual. It's important to understand that awareness is interactive. Your thoughts and feelings are not nearly as private as you'd like to think.
No, no. That's a big deal, right? Donna, before we go to your repeat backs and takeaways, will you just hyphenate awareness bubble, please? See, program being updated. Now I got to be careful. I forget sometimes. I tweak some of the language, but then I forget then to come back and do the audio.
Right.
Yeah.
That's all right. The people that do it will tell you, I'm sure.
Really. Yeah.
Like that? Is that
yeah.
how you want it?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. It's binding it together. Yeah, it's not a hyphen, which is a break. It's a dash rather. Or other way around. I don't know. I always forget on those two. Yeah. I mean, hence the no spaces because it's tying them together.
I will say implications you have to be, I have found you have to be careful with because you may come to an understanding of an implication and may be totally off on that too. So
Yeah.
the only thing I had on this one is that's for sure. That's for sure.
Oh, fantastic. Fantastic.
That was my comment on that one.
Right. Implications are absolutely by implication sophisticated. Like you said, if we sloppy with our implications, they become assumptions and predispositions and preconceived ideas.
Right.
But if we do not connect it to implications, that's problematic.
Guess what I'm saying is it can't stop by just connecting to the implication itself, but it has to have that layered sophistication for it to be effective.
Yes, yes. And the key is plural.
He is
That's
what?
key. Plural. We
Oh,
want
yeah.
to connect to implications, not just an implication. That's where we get lost. Same with perspective shifting. It's never just to one other, it's to multiple perspective shifts. Yeah. Mm. It came
That's
up
gonna,
in one of the comments on perspective shifting. Well, the black-white mindset, um, and the loss of color, and how key that is. And somebody said, oh, they want to get to a point where they see things without judgment. I said, yeah. When you're saying it's black or white, I didn't say it in this way, but I'm just going over it again. If you say it's black or white, the moment you say or, you're forcing yourself to judge between the two, right?
right.
When you
Yes,
shift to colors and looking at all the colors, it's not a choice between them. You're not saying which one is best. You're just enjoying all of them. Same thing with multiple perspectives. Yeah, the perspectives. Oh, I understand because of the perspectives. I can't remove any of them. It's like removing color from the world. It messes things up. You can't take it away, right? Especially the primary colors. Everything you see out there has a primary color in it somewhere. So you can't remove them. You're going to just mess up your understanding of the morning.
fewer, and there is a rhythm to the sentence structure, and the energy behind the words is different. Someone may not want to connect to the awesome truth. Oh, no, that's the next part. That's all I have for that part.
Brilliant.
Yeah, I've noticed that when I hear people and they're sorting through and they don't have a complete understanding, there's a lot of words involved. It seems from my observation that there's a lot of dialogue, a lot of words, and kind of almost like a rapid rhythm, like an anxious rhythm, like, wait, I'm not there, I don't get it. And then once they think it through to the end and there's an understanding, the whole sentence structure changes. The words change, the amount of them changes, the rhythm of it changes, their voice changes, the breath changes, it all changes. It just settles into, yeah.
Yes. And look
I've
at the
noticed
magic
that
of
for a
that.
long time.
Yeah. Once they get through the first part, the problem is you can see this happen very often. They get through it and then they change. But the change of the voice and the everything, the mindset, the attitude, the awareness, everything is now applied to the next thing, not necessarily to the thing that they were struggling to get out. It's seldom that there's an opportunity to repeat that exact thing again in order to now repeat it in the new awareness. It's not the same words, but to reshare it where you, okay, I've got it now. Now I share it, and now I can actually hear what I am saying myself. And this is the power of the repeat back.
Yeah. It lets it sink in to your being
Exactly.
rather than
And the
just
whole
like floating around.
right, and the whole process that we have in doing the things. You read it, that's one. You write it down, your notes, that's two. The first is the repeat back, so that's the first one. Then the takeaway, it's already a repeat of the material and the repeat back because it's involved in that. And then you come on here and you share it again, and this is now it's 3-4 times that you're doing this. It's very powerful, very powerful. It gets practice, right? And then
Right.
we discuss it and we go over it, and then you even get more chance sometimes if it's not fully fluid yet to come back on it. So yeah, very powerful, very powerful.
Why would someone not want to connect to the awesome truth about themselves? Share also your observation of how the awful truth impacts others and their learning and growing. Someone may not want to connect to the awesome truth about themselves because it may be, they feel it as an unknown, and unknowns are perceived as can be scary.
Yes, yes, yes. What else? What else? Yeah.
That's all I have.
Oh, what about responsibility? risk.
That's all kind of in the scary part. It's inherent in what I was thinking. Yeah, I agree.
Right. Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, that's why, right? It's just so awesome. It puts a responsibility on you for what is the equivalent, really, or the perception so often is this performance. If I have the ability to be awesome, well, I've got to deliver that awesome. And, that's performance anxiety right there, which people don't want. So,
Well, here's something that relates to that. I have a deep sense within me when it comes to performance. I don't have a need to be on stage at all. I don't feel like that's my calling. And what I mean by that is, like you were saying earlier about the teaching, there's so many different ways to share information. And I feel as though the new ways of sharing and collaborating feel like my calling, where being on stage or being the leader of a group or a life coach, I haven't connected to that type of thought process for so long. Now, here's where it gets tricky. Some people may perceive and have, and I had to work through not caring about this, but it'll make sense when I continue on, that they perceive that as being like stage fright or not having confidence in yourself or low self-esteem. And it's like none of that. It's quite opposite.
Correct. Yeah.
So
I agree.
It's like how the evolution of, I guess, sort of helping others open up their hearts to be able to see the truth of that situation. Because if you say anything, that's not going to bode well. That's not going to give the results. So there's a sophistication there. How do you bring people along out of, and I guess that's where hearing and helping, it sort of is like, oh, this is like a mechanism that could be used for that process.
Yes, exactly. Yes,
Because
exactly.
I was asking that a long time ago when I had to be on Jazzercise and on the stage. It's probably over a year and a half ago we talked about this and how people really gave me a hard time for making a conscious decision that I thought through to the end and decided I was not going to be the person on the stage. And, their perception of it being she's afraid and this and that. And having to be like, you have a perception and it's yours and you're just going to have it. And I'm not going to worry about that. And then it's like, it prompted a thought in me. How do we get to a point where we can move out of that programmed, you have to be an instructor, you have to be on stage, you have to be a life coach, you have to be the one talking. And how can we have it be more of we in collaboration? And even with Jazzercise, just the small emphasis of group instructing, planting the seed with Tommy when we went to lunch and sharing with her how the energy when you have a group of instructors up there is so powerful and how it just energizes the room and how that when you all are up there, just little things, just that little lunch. And then they're doing it more. No. I'm just saying emphasis, just like for a tiny second. And another owner of us, then all of a sudden I'm seeing where the Jazzercise corporate is almost incorporating group instruction now. So I sit back and marvel at like emphasis and shifting and sharing and collaboration. And you talk about how one person can make a difference. That's how each of us individually can make a difference. I have no idea if that luncheon had anything to do with the changes. They might have been thinking about it earlier. It might not have planted a seed with Tommy at all, but it doesn't matter because the end result happened. And I did my part. So whether it influenced or the emphasis, it just doesn't even matter because there was value somewhere. Somebody found value in something and it matched up with that one thought. And I don't know the mechanisms of how that all works. I just sit back and watch it all the time and think, wow.
Intent. Intent and leverage. Right. Leverage, right. To truly understand leverage, we have to really understand what precisely.
And that's part of my modules that I want to create. That's exactly what I want to do. I want to understand how to maximize, because I have intent and I have power and I understand who I am. And now it's like, how do I leverage that to do my calling?
So when you were with Tommy and you were talking to her, right? You can sort of say, you did with your comment was provided to Fulcrum. You just came and your comment provided implications. All you did with that comment was allow that stick to become a lever, right? That's it. So it's just putting the right thing in the right place at the right time. That's the key, So you aren't looking necessarily to affect change, but it's about appropriateness. Well, if you see the lever there and it needs to be a lever, they're trying to make it a lever and they're not finding there you go. Okay, thank you. Right? It's simple. It's all about appropriateness. Right? And then
I feel as though, in a humble way, when I say this, I feel as though I often do that. And if I can do it deliberately and consciously and like understand a little bit, like you're saying, behind it, just think how much more powerful
and
that
this is
can
what
be.
We do now. We are right. I just wanted to say we aren't learning. Yeah. No, it's okay. I know you're seeing it, but I wanted just to
no, I was just excited. I was just excited.
I love it.
You're gonna tweak it. You're gonna tweak me. I know.
No, not you. But I'm saying what we are doing is to not learn, but to bring into full clarity what we've been doing most of our lives. To own it, to become wizards in it, to know it consciously and deliberately, so that we can apply it with that full wizardry. And notice, see, I'm shifting from saying wizardry to mastery. From mastery to wizardry. Right? Because to me, a wizard deals in magic. And what is magic? But this exact same thing, finding that fulcrum point.
The other I am very aware of and have been for a very, very long time is through learning and growing. And when you have the ability to find that fulcrum point, if others are not comfortable in that setting of seeing that or feeling it, they may not understand, but they're feeling like there's something magical going on. And it's associated with energy or experiences, energy and experiences with a particular human being that sometimes makes them feel, unfortunately, less. And so it's the finesse in doing it so that everyone feels really good, so that you're lifting them up and sharing and collaborating at whatever they're bringing to the table, even if it's not, even if they're not understanding that they have it yet, that's also a skill I want to expand, that finesse, that sophistication, because I've noticed that it goes back to, if I'm really direct, like when you're different, some people feel less. And it doesn't have to be that at all. Nobody's less or bigger or better. Just
Wow.
everyone has their unique things they're bringing to the party.
Yeah.
But when they see yours as magical or an awe or wow, how do you do that or whatever, sometimes there's just an instant, well, I'm not that at all. And that there's just this, I don't know what other words to say other than it's a feeling of less.
Yeah.
And it's not at all.
No.
And so
Exactly.
the lifting up and the collaboration and the sharing and the refinement of inclusion and helping dissipate that misnomer of less and more and better or worse or mastery and student kind of psychology. I would like to master eliminating that and doing it in a way that's sophisticated and multi-layered. And that's the other thing we're doing here. So I asked for this a while ago. You know, how do if I'm all about sharing collaboration, it's more than just bringing a group together. It's more than just facilitate. I was trying to articulate just this. Master the art of true, just totally comfortable and wrongs, and there's no aware than the other. I find no resonance.
Why? So it's about actualizing our wizardry. Now, the default implication of that is from a lifelong, conditioning, is that, well, if you actualize something or you're learning something, you're expanding your awareness, it's to use it, right? And using it is also in the habitual conditioned thinking, something that you do, you go and put out there, you actively look to say, how can I use this? But this is not what we are going to do. Again, philosophy of opposite, right? So how are we going to use this? We are going to use it via appropriateness. And we're going to use it by absolutely implicitly trusting our appropriateness, our exquisite sense of appropriateness. We all have this. We know it's appropriate. The key to appropriateness, though, is to recognize all of the elements involved, right? So we could say this hearing. This is all about being able to extend and expand our awareness to make space for the perception of appropriateness in full context, right? We have no agendas. We are not trying to do anything. There's no saying stuff, telling. There's no giving advice. None of that. None of that is a priority for us. It's not an agenda for us. So being absolutely agenda free creates that space to perceive what is appropriate in the circumstance. And and furthermore, we want to get really, really sophisticated, right? We are going to say, how can I trust myself to know what is appropriate? I don't. So I'm going to make space not for me to now do what is appropriate according to what I think, no, but to allow the appropriateness to be pulled out of me by the circumstance itself, which again, I make space. I'm hearing myself as well as the other, right? and they will pull from me. I have this innate trust because I'm in that space where my usual I is not present, and stuff comes, gets pulled out of me. That's it. I have no agendas, no personal moods or intents, and none of that. So it doesn't get corrupted. So what comes, it comes. And the more we have worked on our individual tools, not for the purposes of specifically going and using them, but for the point and the time when it comes to say, oh, and the tool automatically gets taken out of your toolbox and used. Oh, wow, cool. Oh, I see now. So we get to enjoy ourselves as a spectator almost, to see how our moreness comes out. And this is a real fun thing because you get to just enjoy yourself, and there's no ego involved in what you're doing because you know it's not really you. Yes, you worked hard at learning how to use those tools to be expert at them for when the time is needed, but you never take them out with your usual conscious deliberateness. No, they come of their own accord. That's really something. And that's what you were saying in terms of assisting, helping, being of service, being a part of the world. It's just about being in the absolute most appropriate.
because you know how to do that. But when we were talking about facilitating, and that's kind of what was what's the word when something is like sort of bubbling around in you?
Fulminating.
What is it? Fulminating?
I'm not sure that's the right word. That's the word that popped out of me. I think so. I think so. Brewing, stewing.
Yeah, but not in a negative way. Brewing and stewing
Yeah,
is like
yeah,
you're obsessing. It just was like
yeah,
kind of
yeah,
floating around out there, like
yeah.
refine this a bit. Let me refine this. Like when I was sharing with you and Beena about facilitating and not hesitation, but like I guess my approach to it and making sure that was aligned with the program and like how I was feeling inside. And it went back to jazzercise and being an instructor and how that felt different for me. Well, this felt different than the typical, person that is a life coach kind of approach. That I wouldn't even know how to do that anymore. I would fail miserably at that.
Yeah. No, it's not the word I said. That means something else entirely. There's a similar word to it, but yeah, I know what you mean. It's just it's swirling, it's building, it's growing, it's integrating, it's getting itself together. Yeah.
Yeah, all on its own. You're not obsessing, you're not thinking
Right.
about it. It's like it's just sort of settling into you. It's making
Co
sense. It's
co coagulating.
yes, that's the word. Yeah, it's
Coagulating.
gelling. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
All right. Ready to go on?
Yeah. Absolutely.
I have to leave at 9 today. So,
Brilliant. Keep going. Keep going.
all right.
Love this.
Task and exercises. Okay. Just in general, pay attention to what people say about others, particularly when it is not so positive and a complaint. Pay attention to how what's said could actually be about, you think, about the individuals themselves. You can't see something in another person if you don't see it in yourself. Detail how, if this is so, what they say reveals insights and truths about the individual themselves in the context of philosophy of opposite. I've just found with myself, if there's things in others that really is unsettling, I already know and have for a very long time that that's a reflection of something going on in me and I need to step back. Not always, I will say not always, but a lot of times. And if it's not something that is prevalent now, it probably had been at some point in my existence. So we all can benefit from kind of stepping back. At least that's what I have found. And there's an example of somebody I know who complains, literally complains constantly about somebody they know is always late. And I laugh because that very same person is never on time. And they're like totally oblivious to the connection of the two. And the direct, not so diplomatic me many times has had to bite my tongue because I just want to blurt out, God, you dumbass, do you not see that you're the same way? And then I step back and I say, okay, Donna, how many times have you done that? You can't have that kind of thought process. This is where diplomacy comes in, and this is where we're all learning and growing. And
very cool. Very cool. Very cool. Very cool. All right. Wow. You know what, see? My brain is peculiar. My brain is very peculiar sometimes. So let me get to where's my chat options here. I'm not seeing that. Oh, it's at the bottom there. All right. So, okay, there we go. Dina. That's probably what I would call you in the Beena series.
I'm not seeing anything.
Oh, in chat, in Zoom chat.
Oh, it didn't show. Maybe because I'm sharing, will it show? Or do I have to go back to Zoom?
No, just click on chat. Just click on chat and it will pop up the window.
I don't have a chat icon on the screen I'm looking at. It just has the slides. So I think I have to go back to
the top of you. Yeah, or just go out of screen share for a second. Yeah.
Where is it on the top? I'll learn.
Somewhere there, look under more maybe and see if you got a chat option under the more.
Okay.
No, that's a different screen. And not those three dots, the Zoom three dots in the very top of your screen. There where it says end screen share, the very top, there's a menu bar, a Zoom menu bar, isn't there?
I don't have that. I have minimize, the restore and the X. And then
no,
underneath...
not on the that's well, no, that's the slides window.
Right. Yes, yeah, I'm on the slides window.
Yeah, but isn't there above that, at the very, very top of your screen, isn't there a Zoom screen where it says end screen share and then some other things like, the
participants? Oh, no, it went away. But now that I hit stop share, it came down.
Okay, but
video.
I think,
yes.
Yeah. So chat, you may have had to put your cursor there to bring it to the fore.
I did.
Right. Okay. Anyway, so just click on chat.
Thank you. Well, no, I'd like to learn stuff, especially this kind of stuff.
Yeah, I like it too. Very cool.
What is this now? I'm sorry.
That's your agglomeration name or Nobilia name, but yeah, in the Beena series name. But to write you in as a character, right now it might change, but all right. I have a little process usually that I make names for people. Sometimes it depends on the circumstance and that whatever. But usually I try and take their names and distort it in some way to get to it. Like for instance, Eska comes from SK, right? So SK, right? SK. If you take S and K, you pronounce it. But DH doesn't make for a nice name, right? If you write it out, D and then AITCH, DH, it's a clumsy name, right? But I remember Donna at first was Dinner. You remember when you were Dinner?
Oh, yeah.
Right. So you take Dinner and you make it futuristic, and you just, they always have the little apostrophes in there. So that's how you get Dinner, which has a elegance to it, does it not?
Say it again.
To say Dana, yeah. Dana settled on the grass, waiting expectantly for the new nobles to share. She herself liked sharing, having been a new noble most of her life. Something like that. See? Dana waited. Dana was open. You see, it sounds nice, doesn't it?
It does. I like it. Yes.
And then you can go into, where she says one of her favorite things to say is, nah, come on. So it's also the D is short for divine, of course. It just worked out nicely. When you have, like, if you go back to the etymology of the name, even now you get it in names sometimes where you have a part of a name means uh, like when you say, Van Gogh, it means of, right? And so of that family, of Go. So, you still have it in names where certain suffixes or prefixes have this. Yeah, they mean something. So the stands for divine. So it's just perfect, right? You like that, Donna? Where'd you go? I'm not hearing it. Okay, I'm not hearing you too far from the mic. Yeah. Oh, wait. No. Fun stuff, Donna. Fun stuff. Fun stuff.
I do like it. I will say
Yeah.
the part that I so enjoyed about this course is, like I've shared with you, I'll have, I think the next slide or maybe the one after talks about rhythm. And you would think that if you didn't know me, I read the slides before and just reiterated with my takeaway what the next slide was saying. But I literally, it would just flow out, and then I'd read the next slide and it'd be the same words. It'd talk about rhythm or whatever. It happens over and over again. And I love that. I love that self-affirming, even if nobody else knows, it doesn't matter. Just the fact that, oh yes, I'm kind of on the same page here. And I'm actually, yeah, I can do that. And I'm flowing along here. Yay.
Yeah. Now, see, I
That's
trust.
good.
I just, yeah. Sorry, I'm still thinking of the name thing. When I made it, I just went Donna, Dana. And okay, because I know the apostrophe, and that's it. And I kind of left it there and I typed it. I only saw the divine connection when I was explaining it back to you. And that
Ah,
always happens for me every time. I absolutely trust. And it's like, then I discover, it's like, wow, because I know it's back there and I trust it to come out. I trust
yeah.
my just that moreness to reveal itself. It's fantastic. I'm like, that's cool. So I get to enjoy it also. Very cool. Very, very cool. And that's something. And
Yeah.
that's something. So cool. All right. Very cool. Very cool. All right. Let's keep
Ready?
going. Yeah.
Um, let's see. Practice hearing the world. Yeah. The wind, particularly in the mornings, and report on what you hear. Can you discern and distinguish different moods, feel, energies, intents? Share in detail the differences you notice day to day. How does what you hear relative to the world impact and affect those around you? How do you perhaps absorb energy or mood from the world and project it maybe onto others?
I
Yeah,
love this task. I
yeah,
love this task.
this
And where I'm at
this is a great
now, sorry,
test.
just before you share, where I'm at now, unfortunately, when it comes morning, I don't quite have the space to stand and absorb. There where I was in Jerome, I did have that. I could just go to the door and there was that ability to really connect it. I don't have it here, unfortunately. But this is very powerful. And I remember, I was standing on that door and, that practice really connected for me for this task. Yeah. Very cool. Very cool. All right. Let's hear. Let's hear. Let's hear.
Oh no, I just appreciate you sharing that. I know you used to do that. A couple times you did it with me. This
Yeah.
is just a practice that I've done for many, many years.
Yeah.
Just very, very aware of the world and listening to the wind and the birds and the feel of energies. And they don't connect to weather at all like I thought they would. I remember that being interesting. They connect somewhat, but it's not as though if it's really cold out in the last couple of years, there's no birds. It's different than it used to be. it's very different. I remember recently it was a very cold day and the energy outside was crisp and clean and it felt energized and there was geese around. And I remember thinking, how can there be geese when it's snowing and cold? The geese have not flown away. They have not left yet. So I,
Wow.
that was
Still
kind
not
of,
right now? Still
no,
not?
they're still here. They're on the golf
Then they
course
staying.
today.
Then they staying for the whole winter.
Right. Just
Wow.
different things like that. If you really pay attention, and I mentioned that to somebody, I'm like, aren't the geese supposed to leave at some point? They're still here. They haven't left.
Wow.
Oh, wow. I didn't even notice that. But there's so much that the world can tell you through sounds and energy
and through feel.
right. Well, that's energy is to me that's one and the same as just
Sorry, I was just emphasizing the obvious.
I know. No, I know. Yep.
So
and when I
cool.
say
It's
that,
so cool.
I'm just saying that you and I are on the same page when I say that.
Yes,
I'm irritated that you're.
I know. We're confirming each other. We're confirming each other. I love doing that. Because it's an acknowledgement that I hear you. That's what we're doing. So I appreciate it.
Right.
Would you like some ice cream?
No, not at this hour. Not yet. It's a little early for me.
Well, if I've had pasta, I can have ice cream, right? Well, I had my second pasta already. Never mind the first one.
I just finished my breakfast, my oatmeal. I do enjoy pasta and pizza in the morning, though. I was just talking to Sam about that because I was eating cold pizza in the morning. He's like, "Ooh, pizza in the morning?" I said, "All right, stand back. Whoever said that you have to?" We had this whole discussion about they said, right?
Exactly.
Like,
To
you're
me,
right.
I'm hungry and I've got food that I like eating, and I eat it. That's it. When I was a kid, I'd have cereal in the afternoon or in the evening, and we're like, "Oh, but it's not breakfast." Well, so what? I love cereal. The difference is the time doesn't taste any different depending on the time of the day.
And I bet if you got a lot of the people that are in our group and had them describe their childhoods, we'd have some real commonalities in that we sort of were rebellious, we sort of didn't fit in, we sort of did our own thing, we sort of were a little isolated from the world. There'd be some things that
would you like some raisins for your oatmeal? I'm putting raisins on my ice cream.
Oh, nice.
And then I put it in the microwave just for a little bit, just to halfway melt it. I like soft ice cream like that. And it softens the raisins a bit too.
One thing I've tried just for the fun of it is when it's a rainy day, there's a natural tendency to be, oh, it's all gloomy. And so I have, through emphasis and intentional, said, what a beautiful day today when it's been raining.
Yes.
And people look at me like, what? I'm like, it is beautiful. Smell it. It's so clean. It's so refreshing. Listen to the birds. They're so happy they have a drink and they have their water.
Exactly. Now, that's so fabulous how this has come up in the context of this particular task. Next time it's raining or snowing, feel the earth. Feel the earth going, thank you, yay, and the earth's appreciation and joy at the moisture coming into it. That's why I go nuts. I go nuts when it rains. I laugh because I'm hearing and feeling the world. I know capital H, hearing the world. And it loves the rain. It can't get enough of the rain. It goes nuts for it. So
I walk in the rain. I take my shoes off if it's not too cold. Wow. I get my inner child on in the rain. I love it.
Yeah. So this exercise of hearing the world, it's particularly apt when it's raining. I forgot about that. I kind of like to have put that in there actually. Yeah. But it's okay. I'll bring it up in the sessions. I remember now. Yeah. So when you heard the wind, particularly in the mornings, so report on what you hear. So what did you hear, Donna?
When I hear the wind specifically, it's almost like I don't hear voices in the wind or audible words. It's
No.
just it's more of I hear the feeling. I hear the gratitude. I hear the joy. I hear the delight. Um, I don't
Yeah.
know. It could be that I feel those things and I'm reverberating, off of the wind, and the
Yes.
wind is doing it back to me, kind of thing. I'm not sure
Yeah.
the dynamic of it, but
But who cares?
but who
You're feeling it.
cares, right? I'm trying
You're
to let
feeling
go
it.
of that. But who cares? It's just fun. No, and I'm not
Exactly.
kidding about the rain. I love walking in the rain.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
like
yeah.
when I have to
Oh,
walk Riley and it's raining, I don't bring an umbrella and I just let it pour on my
uh,
face and it feels so good. And
yeah.
yeah,
Brilliant. Brilliant. Mm.
okay. It's a good thing.
Again, when I said hearing the world, the wind, particularly in the morning, I should have said the airs, particularly in the morning.
What's that?
Right?
You
There's
should have
seldom
said,
wind in the morning, but there are airs about. And those airs are very, yeah, wind has energy and mood to it, absolutely. But those airs, they're exquisite, they're sophisticated, they're very subtle. So, yeah.
yeah. It's not always a strong, like
Yeah.
fan blowing wind. Sometimes it's
Right,
just a
right.
very subtle air that's out there and that's when you sort of have to really tune in
Yeah.
to uh to
To nuance.
nuance is good because it's more than tune into nature, turn into the earth. It's more than that. Nuance is good. All right,
Yeah.
let's go on. This is
Yeah.
probably my last one, and then I probably have to scoot.
Okay, sure.
Share your experiences of when you were feeling past the emotions of others, when you were
Mhm.
practicing capital H hearing. How did you feel, and what more did you connect to?
Oh, very cool. Very cool. I see. Mm.
So many times where I feel past our whole conversation yesterday with you and Beena as a current example.
Yeah. Yeah.
There was a
Yeah.
lot more going on in that conversation that we were connecting to, and we were definitely feeling past
Right.
the
Yeah.
emotions.
Yeah. Context shifting. This is my biggest problem in interactions. It is for me to well, often what I say is almost always in as many contexts as I can possibly make it pertinent and relevant, and extending it especially into longer term context. So that often that gets perceived in a sub context, and then that initial within the sub context, but no, but in the so that's the biggest problem for me. And so this is, I have to learn how to communicate that what I'm sharing is in multiple contexts, not a particular context. Because if one gets heard in a particular context, it can completely corrupt the understanding of what's shared. So we have to practice this to reverse it. So when we are feeling past the emotions, we are feeling past the context in which they're feeling it, to go a little bit bigger, deeper, more. Yeah, very useful, very useful.
The other thing that came up for this slide, though, is a, a desire to practice a knowing of where the other person is, because if you're feeling past and you're taking it to multiple context and you're looking at it from the abstract and the bigger picture, and it might be a hot button for them, or they're immersed a little bit in their specifics, and that's where I get to, where I get
Yeah,
locked into the specifics. Then
yeah, yeah, exactly.
when I'm locked into something and people are sharing the abstract, quite honestly, the emotion that comes up is, okay, I'm just not even going to listen to you because you don't get what I'm saying. So,
Remember what we said when we started to do this? our intent here, the client is always us, right?
Right.
Our intent specifically is to do hearing and helping from the perspective of being able to hear ourselves as client, right?
Right.
And
Right.
to also say the one doing the hearing flips repeatedly in both ways. So the key here is to learn to feel past ourselves when we hear, not
I
just past
I
the other
I
person.
haven't. I don't feel past myself a lot. Not all the time at all. And there's
Coming
very
to practice.
specific things. Well, I don't know that I want to, honestly. There's a
Want the
part of me that
ability.
is, I can have the ability to do it and I can
Hmm?
choose. That's what I want.
Exactly.
However,
Exactly.
for me,
Exactly.
I want that context to be applicable, and I'm choosing to still be connected to this world. So I'm still choosing and enjoying those contexts where I need a specific answer. I don't want abstract. I don't want
Right.
multi-layered.
Right.
I don't want
Right.
more. I just need a friend to hear me and to offer different perspectives specific to that content. I
Right.
don't always
Right.
want more. So I
Right.
guess for me, in choosing that, I also have to be able to know when the the conversation is more appropriate to hear the more, or when that person has a specific situation and content where they're looking for multiple perspectives for their life right there in that
Right. What's
moment.
appropriate? What's
What's
appropriate?
appropriate? Exactly. Because if I'm
Right.
hit with more and I want specific, that's annoying.
Right. But here's the key. It is about being able, right,
Right.
to hear past your feelings, right? The
It is.
implication here is not that we want to always feel past it. We want to, but not only. It is part of the entire spectrum. You want to feel the biggest context there is, but bring it back to the specific pertinent context of now. But we do need to have all of those contexts in us. So we want to feel all of it and feel past the emotions of the others, past our own primary emotion to say what else is going on. I can ignore that, throw it away because okay, it's not pertinent. The thing that I am feeling is pertinent, but we still want to get into the habit of feeling the whole range so that we can determine if what is preeminent and predominant is appropriate. It isn't always.
Well, and I feel as though there are a bit of expectations or judgments. This is just me. So I got to
Mm,
step back
mm.
and figure out why I feel like that it's always an always situation. You always want to feel
Yes.
past and I don't.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
really
No, you don't
don't.
always
And if
want to feel past.
that's
Right.
and if that's not something that other people feel comfortable with,
Right.
um,
Right. It's
that's
just
okay.
when we say we want to feel past, let's just be precise that we're talking about the same thing here, right? So when we feel past our emotions or the emotions of others, that's the discernment exercise. That's just a perception exercise. It's not a relating exercise. That's something different, right? So when you say to feel past, there's an implication that you're going to relate to what you now feeling past the emotion. No, 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 no. What we're going to relate to is what's appropriate in the circumstance. But it's like, okay, it's like, let's say we're going out hunting and, whatever, the buck, the deer comes in our field of view and it's right there in front of us. We want to feel past that deer. What's behind the deer, right? So that if I go and interact, okay, it's not a great example because it's, what was, but if I shoot the deer and I miss, I don't end up shooting some other hunter behind it. See, so we want to know what's past things, what's behind them. Yes, I'm still involved with the deer. I'm still going to be interacting with it, but okay, let's say we're shooting it with a camera. I don't want to be photobombed by the other hunter standing behind the deer. You've got to look at the frame in order to put it in its appropriate context. right? And make sure that it is there where you actually do want to be. Because yes, for the most part, the thing in the foreground is the appropriate thing, but every so often it's not. Yeah. So we're just developing this habit, this ability to see the around the picture. You know, like when people take bad photographs, they never look at the thing around the subject. They only focus on the subject. Yeah. So that's what we want to get, that ability to see the environment as well. And see, it doesn't mean we're going to focus on that. Sometimes, yes, but it's for context, for understanding. It's an ability we want to develop. That's all. Yeah. Right.
Right. But you are aware
It's an
that
awareness
you
ability.
are aware of what I'm saying in that sometimes when you're so you're so more that it's hard to like come back to
Mm.
specific for somebody. It's hard to meet
Yeah.
them at that
Yeah.
space. And
Right.
then
Right.
when you don't, the relating part is deeply impacted.
Right. But now we are hearing past. We are feeling past, not sharing past. Big difference.
Um, I've experienced the sharing part, but yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, ultimately,
So
you'd like to just hear
yeah.
past,
Yeah.
but sometimes there's a sharing
Right.
past too.
Yeah. But I mean, is we're going to share appropriately. But in order to share really, really appropriately, I need to know the entire environment. Because if there is something in the background or past it that does influence things, I need to be aware of that. Otherwise, I'm going to only focus and my focus will be inappropriate. So I want as much of the absorption of what's going on as is possible. I want the entirety. Then I can enable my ability, my appropriate connecting ability to absolutely share as appropriate, to relate as appropriate, to emphasize as appropriate, to make space as appropriate. But for that, I need the ability to connect to everything and not have my attention diverted by prominence, right? So the emotion that, like in this case, their emotion that they're sharing is very prominent, but it's not always the issue. It's really amazing. It's not always what the real thing is that really needs to be. Sometimes it's just an emotion that needs to come out, but the thing that's underneath is something else. All right. For instance, take the typical unsolvable problem when somebody um, they annoyed. Let's say they're annoyed with their partner because the partner was being irritating. And well, what did the partner do? Well, they were cutting their nails. Uh, Okay, well, they got to cut their nails sometime. You live together, it can't be avoided. So it's something that they have a particular. It's not a particularly good example, but this is something that bothers the individual, and they are unreasonably bothered. Let's just put it that way. This is not a good example, but it's something like the person has to do, but they get irritated that they're doing it. And they can't express that irritation because they know it's their nonsense that's the issue, not the other person's nonsense. So this leads to this bottleneck where they're expressing their frustration and irritation, but it's not the real issue. The real issue is their annoyance at themselves. Well, they're expressing irritation and annoyance at the other person, but the real issue is their frustration that they can't do something about it. And that if they were to say they bothered, they're going to just look childish and crappy, and sometimes they are being childish and crappy, and this is a really big problem.
That's a pretty basic example, but yes, it was a good illustration of what we're talking about.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, I got
So
it.
again, yeah. All right, all right. We're just looking to be conscious of what we
Yeah,
already know.
I think it's for
That's
me,
our
it's
biggest task.
the nuance
Love
of knowing when to hear it and knowing when to share it. And I feel like you and I have that in common.
Yes, yes. And knowing when to hear the thing itself and what to focus on that, and understanding that going past it allows us to hear the thing itself better. Yeah,
I think sometimes though,
yeah.
my parting comment is hearing past it in and of itself is good. there are appropriate times where sharing it, when you're feeling past it and you're hearing past it, it's not necessarily appropriate to share the past
Correct.
part.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
And knowing when
Absolutely.
to do that and when not is the nuance part that I want to do better
Exactly.
at.
That's the skill. That's the
Yeah.
skill. Yes.
All
That's the
right.
skill. And that's all right. We'll get into it. We'll redo this one next time because it's a bit more for the nuance. I
All
love it.
right.
I love it. Very
Good.
exciting. Very exciting.
50, page 50. All right.
It's 50. Yeah. My
That's
age.
off.
Our
All
age.
right, so.
Bye, Donna. See you
All
later. I'll be
right.
here all day.
All
I'll be
right.
here all day.
Have a
See you
great
later.
day.
Bye
Thank
bye.
you.
You too. You too. You
So
too.
enjoy our
So much.
time.
Yeah, it's lovely. Bye bye, Donna. Bye bye, Donna. Bye bye. Bye bye. Oh, you're